All right, guys, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and start today off by going over numbers 5 through 9 on this literal equations worksheet number 2. We're going to start off by going over number 5. Now, this equation right here is the area of a triangle, and it is asking us to solve for b. So I'm going to go ahead and distinguish that letter b for myself just to know which letter I'm trying to isolate and get by itself. With that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and get myself set up right there. The two things that I'm noticing I need to get rid of is this 1/2 and this h. Now, we've been dealing with these pesky fractions like this for a while now, and I'm hoping by now we can all agree that if we're wanting to get rid of a number on the bottom, aka your denominator, that means we're going to need to multiply by that number on both sides. Since this is all one term, I don't need to distribute the 2 at all. The 2 would technically be multiplying with this 1 right here. And since that is the case, these two 2's are going to go ahead and get canceled out, since multiplying 2 and dividing 2 are opposites of each other. After I do that, I am left with 2a on this first side. And on the other side, I'm left with the 1bh. Now, I'm going to remind ourselves that we are looking for this letter right here. There are 2 more things that I have in the way of it being by itself, the 1 and the h. But we can go ahead and take care of that 1 right now. 1 times anything is just itself. So this is really the same thing as just saying 2a equals bh, since multiplying that 1 is not going to change anything. Okay, after I do that, again, I still want this b by itself. And therefore, I only have this h left to get rid of. Now, these 2 letters are right next to each other with nothing in between them. We've talked about this a couple times, but if this is bh, then that means that the h is being multiplied to our b. And the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I can get rid of this h by dividing the h on both sides. When I do that, those 2 h's are going to cancel. And after that, I'm left with 2a over h equals b on the other side. I have successfully gotten the letter b by itself, so therefore my answer is b equals 2a over h. Okay, next problem. On number 6, this says solve for r. Now, it may have been a while since some of you guys have seen this symbol right here. We call it pi. It has a value to it, but really you don't need to worry about that too much in this situation. Since it's asking us to solve for r here, we have 2 values that are in the way of r being by itself. I have this 2 and the pi. Now, 2 pi and r are all right next to each other. Therefore, they're all multiplying each other. So if I want to get rid of this 2, most of us are going to recognize that if I want to get rid of the 2, I'm going to need to divide by 2. Well, I also want to get rid of the pi. So if I want to get rid of both, I can make my life easy and divide both of those at the same time. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2 pi. And therefore, both of those cancel out. And then I am left with c over 2 pi equals the r. This one was really quick. It only took 1 step. And therefore, since I have it all by itself, r equals c over 2 pi. And that one's just that simple. So remember, the key aspect of this problem is when you have multiple things being multiplied together like this, and you only want this 1 letter r, you can get rid of the other 2 values by dividing them on both sides. Since technically 2 pi were both coefficients to your variable r. Okay, moving on. Solve for w. W here is currently being trapped by 2L and the coefficient 2. I'm going to start by getting myself set up the exact same way. Wants me to solve for this W here. I'm going to highlight that for myself. Okay. Now, I have my coefficient 2 that I'm going to end up needing to get rid of, but I also have this other term, 2L. I want to get rid of the term first so that I'm not having to divide the 2 by all terms. So in order to get rid of the term 2L, since that 2L is being added to the 2W, I can get rid of the 2L or move it to the other side by subtracting 2L on both sides. Okay, 2L minus 2L is a 0 pair, so those can cancel. After that, I am left with P minus 2L equals 2W. Okay. Once I've done that, the last thing I need to do here is get rid of the coefficient 2. Again, if you have that coefficient, that means it is multiplying your value W. So to get rid of the 2, I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 2. Those 2 will cancel. I'm left with that W on that side, which is what I wanted. And on the other, I am left with P minus 2L over 2. I could simplify this further, but for the sake of today, we're going to keep this the way it is. We as a class will talk about simplification with literal equations tomorrow. Okay, next problem. Solve for T. Okay, let's see, let me go ahead and get myself set up here. T is only being blocked by one letter here. I've got the T right there. The only letter that is currently blocking my T from being by itself is that R. They are right next to each other, which I'm hoping you're all in your head saying that means they're multiplying, which means I can divide the R on both sides to get rid of it. Okay, those cancel. You're left with a T on this side and D over R on the other side. So T equals D over R. If you guys ever end up taking physics in your lifetime, or in your career here at high school or college, this is a very common equation that you will have to manipulate. Okay, number 9, one of my favorite problems. If you're unfamiliar with C and F as far as temperature, F stands for Fahrenheit and C stands for Celsius. Here in the US, we use Fahrenheit, but in places like Europe and so on and so forth, they do use Celsius. And there is a way that we convert between the two different units. So in this case, it's asking us to solve for C. Now, this one is a little bit more of a beast than the others, but not to fear, you guys just had a problem very similar to this on your quiz. I'm hoping we're all recognizing that we have this pesky little 5 in the way of our C. Let me get caught up here. We've got this pesky little 5 in the way of our C here. In that denominator, in order to get rid of it, I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 5. Now, since I have 2 terms on this side, I'm going to go ahead and take that shortcut of multiplying each term by 5. So multiply that term by 5, multiply that fraction by 5, and then I will multiply the 32 by 5. Okay. These 5s then cancel out, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay. This will leave me with 5F. Over here, I will have 9C. And then if I grab my calculator real quick, 32 times 5 is going to give me 160. Okay. Now, this isn't too bad from here. Again, we're still looking for C. You guys are used to solving equations similar to this. The only difference is you're not used to having this other letter over here. Just don't worry about it. We continue as usual. In order to move the 9 and the 160 away from our C, we're going to start by subtracting this 160 to both sides. 160 minus 160 are 0 pair, and they cancel. Now, 5F and minus 160, those are not like terms. I cannot combine them. We are not going to say that this is negative 155F. They would both need to have that F variable in order for us to do that. So when that happens, this is actually where literal equations can be nice because we just copy down what we see. If we had 5F minus 160, we just write down 5F minus 160. No calculations necessary. Okay, so that's copy down. On this side, I'm left with 9C. Again, that C is the letter that we want by itself. And therefore, we only have one more number to go ahead and get rid of. And that number is the 9. I'm hoping that we're all thinking we need to divide, because yes, we do. We're going to divide both sides by 9 so that those 9s cancel. Now, here's the interesting trick. I could theoretically simplify from here and divide the 5 by 9 and divide the 160 by 9. However, in both situations, that gives us a decimal. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and learn how to simplify more tomorrow. So in our case, we would just leave this the same. We would have 5F minus 160 all over 9. And that equals C. C is now perfectly all by itself. So all I got to do is leave that as my answer. So to find Celsius from Fahrenheit, Celsius is 5 times the Fahrenheit minus 160 degrees, all divided by 9. I hope this video is helpful. For the rest of the period, you and your group mates will go ahead and take a look at the backside and try out those problems.